doesn't make sense. It's not common sense that you would be alone. And you're not. There'll come a day when you'll know I'm correct and it won't be what you think. This galaxy of yours teems with life. There's so much life, but it's so big and so vast. By design, you don't see it naturally. By design, the child sits on the beach. By design, you cannot see another beach. Because the oceans don't work that way. The beaches don't show up to meet with other beaches. The child would have to travel a vast distance to see that they're wrong, that the beaches are everywhere, everywhere. And they're so beautiful. And if the child used common sense, they'd say the earth has to be filled with beaches because that's the way things work. That's the way the elements come together. And they create beaches, and the elements come together, and they create life, just like here. The very process that created life here creates it everywhere. You're not alone. And then the child say, well, if this is so, I wonder what kinds of life there are. And the child says, well, surely it wouldn't be like us. It'd be like odd-looking characters with 4 noses and 5 arms, a few eyes hanging out of their elbow. The child has a vivid imagination of what other life must look like in other parts of the universe and other parts of the galaxy. Never using common sense. Let me tell you something. The beauty of DNA is everywhere. Everywhere. There will be the discovery of microbial life eventually in your own solar system. And when you start examining it, you're going to find DNA. The structure may be different, but it's DNA. The double helix is everywhere. And it's everywhere because the same principles of physics, of creation, of benevolence, of light and dark, of heat and cold are the same everywhere in the galaxy. If physics is the same and life develops the same, it's going to develop in a similar way everywhere. Don't be shocked when someday you will meet that which is your seed creation. Those from very far away, when the time is right, when you're ready, when you come with open arms and love, and when they come out to meet you, they'll be beautiful and they look just like you. And they won't have 4 eyes hanging out of their elbow. It's spiritual common sense, is it not? There will be variety. But the process is the same. The beaches look alike. Oh, some have black sand, some have white sand. Sometimes the sands are coarse, sometimes they're fine. But the process that built the sand from the ocean is the same everywhere on the planet and on other planets as well. Expect variety, but expect similarities. Common spiritual sense is everywhere. But the child still asks the questions as though there were no common sense, because sometimes the child thinks in a way that the child was taught, instead of having a mind that is open to common sense. Number 4, if there's other life, what is the timing of all of it? It probably has a history much like yours. A child says, probably the same kind of history, probably the same timing was involved. But the child doesn't really take into consideration the age of everything. The child doesn't know about the grandness of those who've gone before. The child only knows of the child, of the history of humanity. Doesn't go much further than that. And the assumption that the child makes is that all life everywhere pretty much has the same time duration, history, creation. What does common sense tell you with a galaxy that is 4 billion years old? Does it tell you that all the development was the same? Or does it tell you that perhaps, just perhaps, there are planets with societies looking just like you who have been around for millions of years? And if you think out of the box and use common sense, the potential of that is overwhelming. It also shows that you have arrived just a moment ago, and that there is purpose for this. Whereas the solar system itself and the galaxy that it is within has a 4 billion year history, and humanity has only been here for a couple of 100,000 years. We said it before, dear ones. What is the sense of this? Look at this for a moment. If the galaxy were a 24-hour clock, you arrived about 2 seconds ago. What are the possibilities that there were civilizations far, far older? What are the possibilities that because of their age and because of what you know about consciousness and the Creator, that some of them took on that which is God itself through their DNA, through millions of years? What are the chances that what is happening here and now happened there and then while the earth was forming? And if that's the case, is it common sense? It's far more common sense than thinking that everyone arrived in the last 2 seconds. And if that's the case, is it possible that they have had a part in the creation story of the planet? That you have seeds of your own biology that are mature and great and grand and millions of years old? And that this planet might even be protected in a way that gives it free choice, especially during this shift. That there are things happening here on the planet that were designed to happen for you, to give you these kinds of things. Or is that a stretch of common sense? Number 5. The child says, who is God? What is the attitude of God? Does God know me? Is God pleased or not pleased? Can I offend God? What will happen if I do? And this has gotten more attention from me than anything else that I have ever done on this planet. More times have I said this than anything else. That the human being is so limited in the construct of their consciousness that they have constructed God to be a human being. And we've said the basics before. If it were a planet of dogs, God would be a dog. If it were a planet of possums, God would be a possum. It's all you know. And so all of the dysfunctions of humanity are placed upon the Almighty. And there's no common sense. None at all. The Creator of the universe. Bigger than you can imagine, and yet small enough to fit in you. With a grandness that is so much more than anything you could even think of. And you have decided that there are wars in heaven, and fallen angels, and punishment, and judgment. Is that really spiritual common sense? Or is that you in a box with God that is just like you? What is it about humanity that wants God to be dysfunctional and human? God is love, not judgment. There's nothing you can do to displease God. You're part of God. So controversial it is because of what you have constructed for yourself that you call doctrine. You have God scaring children. Visions of horror when you die. And the Creator of the universe loves you anyway. Even if it isn't common sense. The most common sense you could have is that you're here for a reason. And dear ones, wait till you hear number 6. You're not just here for a reason, but you're part of the puzzle because you've got a soul. A soul that was created by that central source. That which you call the soul is a piece and a part of the creative source that is inside you. So if you're a piece and a part of God, let me ask you something. Is it common sense that you would send yourself to hell to burn forever? That's you with you. It's controversial. But it's common sense that God is love, not hate, not judgment. And that the very construct of some kind of system that you would have to behave in or you're tortured forever is so human. So human. It comes from low consciousness. And one that wishes to control humans and not free them. Number 6. The child sits on the beach and says, I have this life. What happens when I die? Do I come for a moment in time and shine like the sun with a consciousness that loves God, and then I die? And all that is me was only here for a little while, and then I am dust forever. And there is no more me. And then the child starts to awaken. And the child sees many beaches. The child starts to develop common sense. The child starts to feel the Creator inside, actually starts to feel the consciousness of the Creator inside. The child starts to assume mastery. And the child has a big aha.